Welcome to the LEC post-game lobby where I'm joined by Vedius and Excel's Finn.
Oh, we're doing these accents again.
Excel's Finn after beating Fnatic earlier today. He's a proper gentleman now that he's smashed Fnatic. I don't know where he is, but I assume he'll show up eventually.
In the vicinity.
Hello.
Oh,
There he is.
Hello. Good sir. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Ben. That was fantastic.
Finn, that was fantastic. We'll do normal voices. You can keep it up if you want. It's just hard. I can't keep it going.
No, that's not happening, mate. Sorry.
All right, so Finn, before we talk about your incredible victory earlier today as a lot of curses were broken, I would love to talk to you first about your perspective on the Rogue versus G2 matchup.
Did you get to watch it?
Did you get to watch it first off?
Awesome.
Sick.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did get to watch it, yeah.
Mickey was very confident coming out of draft that this was like the most G2 favored Dunzo manifesto draft we'd ever seen. What was your read on the draft and then the game as it played out?
Well, I was definitely leaning more towards G2 in drafts. I think they had a really strong mid jungle with the TF, and they had pretty good matchups in both side lanes, assuming Zero is as OP as everyone says it is. But the game like completely open really fast after some bad fights taken from them, and I don't think it's reflective of the draft. I think his Rogue played super well around their mid jungle support.
I agree. I think it's something that we've been seeing a lot from Trimby especially. We saw that punish onto the LEC after his invade onto the blue side. We also then saw Trimby roam along with Malrang into mid. And while the Xinjiao ultimate didn't quite go the way that they wanted it to, the fact that it ended up working out in their favor anyway just goes to show how proactive this Rogue squad really is. And maybe you can comment on that, Finn, because you've like experienced this roster, you've experienced the pressure. I kind of feel like that they don't give you as much room to breathe as they used to.
I'm not sure really. It's hard because I only played them once, right?
Yeah.
Excluding scrims and such, but I think right now Rogue just has such strong laners in almost every position, and they have a jungler that really facilitates those lanes. So I'm not sure if it's proactiveness or if it's just like they're just so good in their lanes, and when you win lane and you have a jungler that plays for you, it snowballs. That's the basic formula usually. I think time will tell, surely.
That's fair.
Yeah, we'll have to see in the second half how it works out. Do you how do you feel about Rogue as a team, as an organization? Obviously, it's your former team. You took a brief step away to play in the LCS. Is it any more high stakes for you when you think about Rogue? Are you like happy for them? Obviously, it's a lot of the same support staff, some of the same players. Like, how's the relationship when you think about that team, when you play against that team, when you talk to those guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm really happy for Larson. Seeing him perform this well, it makes me happy, but it's also really sad because I really wanted to beat him yesterday. I think there's just something in it when you play your old teammates and the old team that you really want to beat them. Thankfully, I got another chance next round robin. So, no, but yeah, really happy for Larson. Feels like he's really like smurfing this year.
And speaking of Larson, he's our key player of the game with 63% of the votes. I'd say well earned, solid Corki. I'm frankly a bigger fan of giving it to the people who like set up for the gangstas in.
But he was really insane that game, to be fair. Corki. It's just one of those things where you see Twisted Fate locked across in, he like insta-locks Corki, and he's like, hello Caps, it's you have chosen death today.
Yeah, that was I'm trying to find a way to say this where I don't get in trouble for it being considered a euphemism. Very crucial package around the Baron pit to win that fight. It was very good, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway.
I feel like people still like they gotta stop giving Larson Corki. He's too good on the champion. They still think he's gonna like package into their Nexus or something, but it's not gonna happen.
Were you on the roster when that happened?
Yeah.
Was that era?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that there's some sort of like there's some irony now. You know what I mean? Like from what Larson was to what he is now. You know. I mean, it's good for him.
Comes full circle. It was Corki and Azir. We're going back to the Corki. You know, old habits, tried and true. Anyway, that said, enough about Rogue, enough about Larson. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about Excel. Excel beating Fnatic for the first time ever. Now, you weren't there for the other 12 losses. So I know this maybe doesn't mean as much to you, but like, is this something that you guys talk about before you go into games? Is this something that we just talk about on the broadcast and maybe like the owners talk about?
I had no clue, honestly. I knew about the G2 Rogue one because I was kind of a part of it, but I had no clue. But yeah, I think today was just a really good showing. I think we're finally getting better and better at these Drake fights and how we want to play around them. I think that was our Achilles heel for so long.
Yeah.
Whether it's like Barons or Dragons, we always manage to throw around those areas. But I think we have been working on it really hard, and we're getting better at it. I think today Mickey had a great engagement to Humanoid here, as you see. Yeah, it's just really great to see the improvements over the course of the weeks. It makes me really hopeful for the future.
So, you know, obviously this was a really big win for you today, and overall the execution was fantastic and a lot of positives. But Finn, a lot of us did comment on the Sona yesterday. So I would like to get some perspective from you. If you can share it, of course. I would like to know some of the logic behind the Sona, a little bit more context behind the Sona, and, you know, what was that all about?
Yeah, so I think the Corki is a really strong pick, obviously, but what Corki does not have is a strong laning phase, and it kind of allows you to pick whatever you want into it, whatever you choose to prepare. We did mess around a bit with the Sona against some teams, and it really showed like we had really good results with it in practice. Maybe not against teams like Rogue, but it still like was a champion we had really good practice on, and we felt really confident about it. If you are able to draft a strong mid jungle, and preferably a bruiser like we had this game Gwen, it really facilitates those champions to kind of pop off in team fights. We did not really see that yesterday. I think we were a bit too eager to fight around that dragon, and Rogue just completely punished us, completely wiped us, and we did not really get to show the Sona strength, sadly.
Okay.
But who knows? Maybe we'll bring it out again.
Okay, I like it. Leave us waiting for more.
Waiting for more.
Most of us aren't waiting for more, but I would be
I
excited
won't be
to be
upset
proven wrong.
If I never see Sona mid again, I'm not going to complain. But, you know, I'll trust you guys if you believe it can work.
I see the theoretical power. I didn't see the scrims where it did well, but we'll hope maybe the stage games can catch up to the scrims there.
Perhaps it's just Larsson's Corki, you know?
True. Yeah. We hit that already.
Yeah.
Finn, I would love to get your thoughts on how you feel like the season is going so far. I know we checked in with you earlier in the season, but feels like, honestly, things are on the up and up. And I don't want to attribute that entirely to the Mickey X pickup, but it feels like at the start of the season, you guys were sitting in these dead even games. You'd find these early advantages. You never were transitioning it. And now it's definitely more volatile, but you're also winning more. What's your read on Excel as it stands?
I think it's a lot of frustration regarding the early games. I feel like there were so many games where we had full control and we just managed to throw it into the dumpster somehow. The BDS game comes to mind, the Misfits game. I feel like we are so close to being really good, but there is this one little area where we're super bad in that we really need to get fixed. But seeing the progress these last weeks in scrims, the more time we have for Mickey to get integrated. Obviously, Alvian and Markoon had played together for such a long time, and they were very good together. So the fact that we changed support jungle like that will take some time for us to get back into the same level we had before. But I think Mickey has been really good so far, and I'm very excited to what we can make happen the second half.
So I've heard this story from Mickey's perspective. We heard it on Euphoria, but I would love to hear it from yours too. He told me he was, quote, griefing in scrims because he hadn't played pro in so long. He like stopped timing summoner spells and was kind of just sprinting it. Can you confirm or deny? Was it a rough adjustment for Mickey to come back into the professional scene after being a solo queue monster for a couple months?
I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. I think we all played pretty bad. He can take the blame if he wants. If he wants to do that, he can do it. But I'm not gonna say anything.
Honorable to the end, teammates. Finn, I respect it. Speaking of teammates, I would love to know a little bit more about your time in the LCS. And again, I'm not trying to set you up to say anything negative here. I know it was a pretty rough split overall when it comes to CLG. This is not a segue for you to trash on NA. It's just I'm curious how you feel like you've grown as a player since your time there.
It's also because, like, you know, we miss our EU boys. We do. And it's nice to hear, like, often when people take a year, especially over in NA, when I was speaking to Alfari about it, he actually, like, only spoke very positively about his experience. But I also appreciate that from your perspective, it was much more difficult. But also for many pros, it can be a great opportunity to, like, learn and grow and, like, come in with a fresh perspective, especially when you return to the LEC. So, you know, we were really interested in your perspective and getting to hear from you on that.
Yeah, I think coming into last year, I was kind of excited to play in NA, and I think the more time I played there, I kind of got more and more frustrated. I think the team situation was obviously not the best for me. We did really poorly, and that of course affects my my memory of the place. But I remember at least when I got back from NA, it kind of gave me some new light of how I wanted to play as a player. Like when I got back, I started grinding so much, and I think I actually improved a lot in the time after NA. I got back and I spammed EU solo queue. As for my time in NA, I think it was fine. I had a fine time there. I had some really great teammates. I got to know some really good people, but sadly the results just weren't there for us. We just didn't really got to play the game we wanted to.
Yeah,
that happens.
I think a super concise kind of assessment of what happened for you there, and thank you for sharing. Obviously, yeah, it's always going to color your experience. Like, I'm sure that all those relationships are way easier when you guys are like, winning every single game. Losing is always going to be a difficult thing. But luckily, I feel like Excel is on the up and up, and I'm glad that even if that was a difficult experience for you, it's motivated you. You're feeling refreshed, and certainly we're seeing you perform as you did today. Pretty solidly, and hopefully it'll be enough to bring Excel to their first playoffs. Again, probably not something you're thinking about a lot, similar to the Fnatic Excel thing. You're probably just focusing on the W's, but we like our narratives here. And speaking of narratives...
I know.
You good. I mean, you've been around. You know how it goes. Anyway, speaking of narratives, mid-split MVP. Less narrative, more analysis. You call it a 50-50 if you want. Let's talk about it. At the start of the day, these were the 5 players that we were looking at, but I would love to know if you have any thoughts, Finn, on like who stands out to you as a big mid-split MVP. It doesn't have to be one of these 5 players. It could be anybody you're thinking, and of course, lots of people chimed in on Twitter using the hashtag #PingTheLobby. But first, from Finn, I would love to know your thoughts.
Let me think a little bit. I think for me, for sure, it's gotta be Larsen, Malrang, or Trimby, one of those 3. I have a hard time pinpointing it down to one person because I think they all just play so well together.
Yeah.
But I would say Larsen. Maybe it's biased because he's like my old teammate. We're pretty good friends. But I feel like at least this year, he has been just smurfing on everyone every game I see him play. I think he just knows his matchups to the complete limit, and he plays them better than most mids. So I think he's finally playing with people that will kind of allow him to snowball a lot more and show that. So I think he's definitely performing super well right now, and he would be my MVP.
Dang. I think it is a heavy debate. Which rogue player? I think it's easy to assume it's going to be a rogue player for many people if you don't have a horse in this race, so to speak. But for me, it's tough. I agree on the first 2, Malrang, Trimby. Maybe I haven't looked enough at Larsen. It's definitely someone I can look at more as we head in this play. Because obviously
it always comes back to that what you started with of the people that set it up versus the people that then
bring it home.
Yeah, exactly, right. And like I think that from Finn's perspective, it very much sounds like that even until the point of setup where he's given all those resources, he's still performing really well, which he is. And I think today really, really, really exemplified how talented of a player Larsen is.
You can add a few more reallys in there if you want to. It was really good. Speaking of, though, from Sean, mid-season MVP should be Rogue. Malrang has consistently shown up for Rogue and came in with low expectations for the split on a revamped roster. I think fair. I think Malrang is the safe bet because ultimately, if you're not looking super closely at the lane matchups, if you don't maybe know Larsen as much as Finn does, Malrang's the guy who's literally just ganking everybody, and I think that's always just such an easy thing to point to. It's like, yes, if it didn't work, he'd probably look like a mega griefer being down 40 CS every game, but because it's working, MVP.
I mean, it's true, but also it's just the way in which I feel like he never. Sometimes when a new jungler joins. Teams are forced to adapt to how that jungle plays the game. Whereas I feel like Malrang came in, we haven't suddenly seen these laners that were very reliable from Rogue suddenly become weaker. In fact, we've only seen them further enabled, and that strong sense of macro that they've always had also hasn't disappeared. So it makes a lot of sense because he's literally just fitted in like a jigsaw piece, which I think just no one expected to do. And it really helps that Malrang filled the shoes of Inspired, and literally no one thought that he would be better than Inspired. So.
Finn, what's your read on Malrang and how? I mean, you played against him. You had that experience. What's your read on this guy as a player?
Yeah, I think he's very, very good, and I think he's like quite far ahead of most EU junglers right now because he's not really getting punished for the things he's doing. He's just playing this style where he's playing so much for his lanes that it's almost predictable, but it's still working because I think the lanes are so strong that he's just like completely popping off every game. I think as a contrast to Casper Inspired, they're like the complete 2 opposites as the players. So it's very interesting to see how Rogue adapted with Malrang, and I think Rogue's ceiling might be higher with Malrang, considering how the laners play.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely looked very different, even if they did always find that best of 1 success. I think inevitably when we talk about Rogue, everyone's looking towards best of 5s because in the last year, that was where they really struggled. We'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, another tweet from Anna. Old man Jankos is Old Man Jankos, comma, sorry, it's amazing someone could be on top of his game for so long. It's true, Old Man Jankos keeping up. Mickey was throwing some shade his way, saying that, like, if we were in a meta where you had to play Kiana, I think implying the bad hands thing, maybe it'd be a little bit harder. But in the meta, Jankos is certainly doing well and feels like a player. Finn, if you had to pick an MVP for G2, is Jankos the name that you would go to?
Well, that is also so hard. Yeah, probably it has to be Jankos. He's always been this kind of guy that knows exactly what his laners needs, and he's never like too behind, but he's always doing just the right amount to help his laners. And he's just balancing this farming and what do you call it? Sacrificing playstyle very well. And I think he's very, very smart at where he needs to be at what time.
And you know, he may have lost, but he is now at a perfect 300 wins, 200 losses.
60%. That's not a bad
Isn't
win
it
rate.
66?
No.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Every 100 wins is 20%.
You know, in hindsight, I now realize that. That's why I checked with you.
It's cool. This is the first rule of play-by-play casting is don't do math on air. They don't have that rule in telecasting. You've got to learn it firsthand. It's tough.
Players are the same. You should not do math in game, or you will mess up your build. It's a disaster every time.
Guys, if I sell refillable, I have BF. Guys, I sold refillable, I do not have BF or IE or anything else.
When I play with Futures Market, I need to constantly ping my items so I don't mess up the map. Because it's like, oh, you can go 255 in depth. Oh, I'm just gonna ping it. And my whole team is like, why are you constantly pinging how much gold you need for an item? I'm like, oh, guys, you wouldn't get it.
All I got from this is that I'm closer to a pro player than I am a play-by-play, and I'll take that. Next topic, Daniel.
Yeah. Generous interpretation. Of course, to close out the day, Excel getting a huge win in the fight for playoffs, also cutting away at any undefeated Fnatic memes in their rivalry in the regular season, staying pretty close to the midfield 4-5. It's a super tight race right now, Finn. Rogue obviously at the top, undefeated. You got G2, and the rest is kind of a mess. How do you feel about the teams around you in the standings? Mickey was super confident on Euphoria, and I don't know if that's because he had to be. He was like, we're third. You know, he's like, we're third. We can be third. How are you feeling about the weeks to come and Excel?
No, I definitely agree with Mickey. I think if we can keep playing like we do today and keep improving as we have done the last 2 weeks, I think it's definitely not out of the picture to become third. I mean, I will always aim for the first place, obviously. When playoff hits, we will see where we actually stand, but definitely nothing is impossible right now for us.
Yeah, I like it. It's hard to deny, because the thing is we could see little bits of improvement, but like you want Fnatic. You beat Fnatic today. It's hard for us to...
From my perspective, I'm also thinking that, like, yes, Excel is improving, but they're also not the only team that's improving.
Sure.
And so
really? Shit.
Yeah, bro, I don't know how to tell you. This is kind of an arms race.
It would be like
to drop the news.
Yeah. It's one of those things.
This is such a good mood.
Yeah, unfortunately, Vitality also keeps getting better. I mean, their games today were a bit...
Is that what you learned from today's game? Is they're still getting better?
You know, but it's one of those things where, like, yes, Cadro is the one that best puts it, where he's always like, you know, the thing is, often you feel like you're good enough to be able to play in playoffs, but then you lost that one game that you really didn't want to lose, and that's what knocks you out of playoffs. And so that's the big thing that worries me for XL right now. They're sitting at 4 and 5, which is like a good position to be in, but yeah, until they get to number 9, I'm not going to be as confident as the XL players.
9 wins, right? Not 9th
9
place.
wins.
Yeah, there you go.
Wins.
Okay, I was just seeing how doom and gloom you were. I believe, Finn, for what it's worth.
Yeah, thank you, Drakos.
I literally bet against you at the start of the season, so don't like be too excited about that. Like I did not believe before, but I think that you guys have done an excellent job so far.
You came to the right side in the end. That's what matters.
Okay,
right?
I'll take that. Look, I'll take it. Speaking of these kind of leaderboard standing things, let's take a look at the Kia Player of the Game leaderboard, where currently VTO is leading with 5 wins, followed by Hillisang and Perks. This is the best thing about Kia Player of the Game leaderboard. If you are on a middle-of-the-pack team and you are the hard carry of a middle-pack team, you will win Kia Player of the Game every time because every other team has to split. Larson's at 3 because every Rogue player is sharing Kia Player of the Games right now.
Wait, so do you guys care about Kia Player of the Game? Because it varies from team to team.
Say yes.
As in, like, do you compete for who gets the most?
I mean, if I'm getting them, I kind of care, but if I'm not getting them, I would say I don't care.
Okay,
so I don't
right,
care
that makes sense.
Gotta play it cool.
Cool.
If you get them, I always care.
I'm a team player. I don't need them, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely. Week 5 coming up. XL facing Vitality. They looked super shaky today versus Astralis. Are you optimistic? Can you be? Because like we kind of made this meme before that you were the best returning EU import because like Dort, you popped off on that Jace. You had you had that moment to shine. But now the rematch is coming up. Vitality aren't. It's hard to say that they aren't as bad as week 1 because they just had a really rough game versus Astralis. But they are looking stronger. Are you still feeling optimistic about the rematch versus them?
No, man, I think we're gonna completely lose. I don't think we have a chance. It's they have perks on Afari, man.
I don't. This is what bothers me is the one thing you bring back from NA other than like a winning mentality and passion is you've learned sarcasm. It's like, damn it, Finn.
Oh, our pro players are sassy now. Okay. I'm sorry for asking you a question.
I mean, of course, I'm optimistic. I think we're doing really well right now, and I think we're gonna go 2-0 next week and get some pop-ups going. Surely.
Okay, last question for me then. Like, so it makes me laugh because from our perspective, like our top laners weren't super strong last year. And then like, you know, we had a bunch of you come back but you've been playing Afari this whole time. So do you get excited playing against a player like Afari who is known for being super lane dominant? Or are you just kind of past that point now and he's just another top laner?
I'm a bit surprised they followed me over the ocean twice. That's like a bit clingy. No, but I think playing Afari is always really fun. The only thing that's not fun is when the boys show up and you're getting like 4-man. That's like was not fun, but usually I don't think Afari is the kind of guy that pulls the team towards you. He's kind of the guy that wants the top lane to be a vacuum and kind of keep it real. So I think that's respectable. It's always fun playing him because he's so good in lane and you always learn something.
Yeah,
so,
cool. I'm excited to see you guys.
I look forward.
Yeah, keeping it real next week. But of course, that's all from us this week. But over in the LCS, the spring regular season about to begin. It starts with Evil Geniuses facing off against TSM.
Who wins, Finn? Who wins?
Finn, who wins?
CLG, baby.
Okay, they weren't an option, but okay,
You're supposed to say in like inspired. Do you want inspired to win? YN.
Yes.
There it is.
Wait, is it inspired against Hansama?
Inspired against TSM. Speaker?
It's
not Team Liquid. Okay. Yeah, then Inspired will win, of course.
Okay.
There it is. We're great. We're all very knowledgeable about the LCS. You can trust us. Thank you, Finn, for joining us. And for all of you at home, have a good night. We'll see you next Friday for more LEC action.
Thank you, Finn.
Thank you, Finn.
Bye-bye.
Less sassy, though.
No,
okay?
the sass is good. I like the sass. The sass is great. Welcome to the final day of the first round robin live from Berlin, Germany. Statement number 2, Misfits would be nothing without Vito.
Oh, okay.
Good solo player started off. This could be decent, but they got to try and fill up this fight with damage. They've got 1 kill down. That's on the Aphelios. Jesu trying to run away, but he's just being jumped on. The face melters that we talked about, and it's going to be 3 more kills. Make it 4 for Vito. The reinforcements, have come all the way back in. What is happening? But it's still Mad Lions time and time again getting these kills. They're not going down. They're not dying. What is this game? What is happening?
Dale, Shockwave only hits onto one. Promiscu now trying to get onto the backline, but Kazi is there in the midst of it all. Can't call. LeBron hit twice. Thrice goes to Kazi. 4 goes wide. Afari dives the backline, and they're TPing in, looking for the win.
Astralis were so close. They were inches away from the finish line. They had it all in their hands, but Vitality, the flank from Alfari, Dior gets shut down instantly.
Keep an eye on Hillasan, because he's looking for the flank right now, and if he can get behind XL, he can shred them. Mickey and Wonder, no vision on them, but they're going to engage. Mickey going in. Look at the damage. Already 1 down. Humanoid shut down. Here comes Hillasan, and the Magna Storm only finds the enemy support. Patrick, the hula hoop of death, surrounds him, and he will shred through Fnatic. The cards coming out, the gold will be locked in, but not in time. Destiny out!
He got away! The auto attack got cancelled because he ulted away, but here comes the Jinx Rocket!
Caps did everything right, but it went so wrong for G2.